asked people, including those with a scientific or healthcare background, what they think a healthcare professional means when they use these words. Many people gave multiple answers. When an immunologist uses the word inflammation, they are talking about the body's response to injury or infection, specifically the response of the immune system. Only 4% of people described a biological response, and 2% described an autoimmune reaction. However, 24% did say it was the body's reaction to infection or disease, and 13% mentioned the body's response to injury. In fact, most people related inflammation to symptoms, including swelling, redness, pain, heat, irritation, or something flaring up. When we put the word in a sentence that explained inflammation is the body's response to infection or injury, most people still only described the symptoms. Only 8% described an immune response, but 19% did talk about the body fighting back. It's worth noting that the answers from people with a healthcare or scientific background were as varied as those from the general public. When a scientist uses the word gene, they are talking about a small segment of genetic material with a specific function. Only 4% of people said they didn't know what the word gene meant. However, only 51% of people understood gene as something to do with DNA or described some form of biological programming. For example, an instruction manual or cellular code. Whilst many people mention DNA, some think it is a particular sequence, something that makes up our DNA profile, or something that holds or reads our DNA. Some people think a gene is a whole chromosome. However, a large number of people also mentioned that gene is associated with inheritance, determining personal characteristics, or susceptibility to health conditions. A small number of people described a gene as a cell. Even when we put the word gene into the context of a sentence, it didn't change most people's understanding. When a scientist uses the word biomarker, they are talking about a naturally occurring molecule or gene that is used to identify a disease, condition, or an abnormal process in the body. Biomarkers can also be used to determine disease susceptibility, prognosis, or suitability of treatments. 30% of all respondents said they didn't know what the word biomarker meant. But when we only analyzed responses from the people who don't have a scientific or healthcare-related background, 47% said they didn't know what it meant. 7% of people simply described it as a biological marker. Of the people who did give a description, some people understood biomarker to be a non-specific general term, while others saw it as a specific biological component. Of the people who related it to genes, their description varied, from something that tags onto or identifies a gene, to something inside the gene, or simply something to do with genes. Some people specifically linked it to a genetic condition. Others also described biomarker as having a specific function. For instance, an indicator of infection or disease. When we put the word into the context of a sentence, people's understanding still varied.